Welcome to episode 19 of Thor, aka the House of Rep. I'm your host, filmmaker Ray Janjua. I'm joined by Rep Valkyrie Pri. Say hi, Pri.
Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing great.
And it's going to be a really cracking episode. So me and Pri are going to really go into this film and see, how cool it is. Stay tuned for another episode of the House of Rep. Okay, so we're back in action. We've seen a lot of developments lately in like movies and stuff that we'll talk about in the in upcoming episodes. And this episode is about the Eurovision Song Contest movie, the story of Fire Saga. So this was a really, really enjoyable Netflix film. It's trending right now on Netflix. It's one of the recommendations that it was saying in the top list. And yeah, this film was enjoyable. I liked it. I'm always a big fan of Will Ferrell's work. I've loved him since he played that henchman in Austin Powers. So the Austin Powers films was some of my favorite films, and I'd love to do a fourth one if I ever get the chance. Jay Roach, Mike Myers, they make some really great films, and Will Ferrell was just amazing in that. He's also amazing in Elf. If you haven't seen Elf, it's an amazing film that Jon Favreau directed before he made Iron Man. So it's one of my favorite Christmas films because it's just so silly. It's about an elf, like a grown guy who thinks he's an elf and he was raised by Santa and everyone. So it's quite funny. It's a really good movie.
Ironically, in this movie, there are invisible elves as well.
Yeah, and which we'll touch on too, which is
Yeah.
really cool. So yeah, so let's talk about the cast, Pri. Like who's in this film? We've got Rachel McAdams. She's a
Yeah.
very good Canadian actress. She's been in a lot of films. So she's been recently in Doctor Strange, and she plays the second lead in this film to Will Ferrell's character. They play two Icelandic singers
Yeah.
now called Lars Eriksson and Sigrid Eriks Dota or something. Sorry, I'm butchering the Icelandic surname, but she basically plays like Sigrid. So she's really cool in it.
Sigrid.
Yeah, Sigrid, right?
Sigrid.
Yeah,
Sigrid.
I'm trying to basically figure out how to pronounce these amazing Icelandic names. So sorry if there are any Icelandic listeners out there who are like pissed that I'm saying their names wrong. I don't mean it. I'm just trying to figure it out. So this film's really cool because like it is a Eurovision movie. Now the Eurovision Song Contest is really fun. Me and Shen's another member of the Rep Knights. He is a huge fan of the Eurovision Song Contest, and he got me hooked on it because I used to watch it like every now and then. But whenever it's on, whenever I can find the time, I check it out. And there've been some amazing, amazing talent, and that has kind of come in and out of that place. So yeah, it's really cool. Interesting note though, this film was supposed to release at the same time that the 2020 Song Contest was supposed to happen. So what you were supposed to do is watch them in tandem. But the COVID-19 pandemic that's been occurring, I hope everyone out there is really well and, is okay. It's been quite a crazy like ride, to try and ride through this thing. So the film was delayed. So after they canceled it, they released it in June. So it came out on Netflix. I just really like this film. Pri, what are your thoughts on this movie?
I mean, it's definitely a very nice romantic comedy movie. I mean, the way they portray, singing is our passion,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
isn't
we
it?
do love to sing.
And watching something of our interest. Also, Eurovision is so famous in the whole of Europe with this
Mm-hmm.
contest, like singing competition, and the way they portray between these two lovely couples trying to get into this contest, and they've been trying their level best in childhood. Remember when he was a little boy and people were making fun of him?
I really like that scene because it reminded me of my youth when people used to think that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I would tell people that I want to do this or play the guitar. And I remember there's a really interesting story I want to share where like I wanted to play guitar for a long time, and I went into the store with my father to buy a guitar, and basically the salesman talked me out of buying a guitar because he went really into, you've got to train on this classical guitar. You got to start with a junior quarter guitar, then you got to build yourself up. By the time I was done, listening to him, he had completely put me off the idea of even picking a guitar up. It wasn't until I guess about roughly, now I can't remember the time scale exactly, but it took about 6 years for me to pick up a guitar again. And what I did is I just went to Argos and I bought the crappiest guitar that I could get with a speaker, like with a, sorry, not speaker, an
With
amp. Yeah, with an
speaker.
amp built in,
Okay.
right? And then I just started learning myself, and I broke strings. I got mad. I got pissed at myself that I couldn't get this stuff, working, because I wanted to be just like, Eddie Van Halen and all these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
And guess what, people? Ray is an amazing, amazing guitarist.
I am good. I'm still not at the level. I'm
No,
not at the level of Eddie and
but you're really good.
like Tremonti and
You have
stuff.
your
Some of my
electric
favorite guys.
guitar, and what was the
Yeah.
other one? The second.
They're called acoustic guitars.
Okay, so
Yeah.
both of them he can play really well.
Yeah, I can also play classical as well.
Uh-huh.
So those are like nylon string guitars that you see mariachi people play and people in orchestras and stuff. They're a different type of string setup. So instead of being steel string that gives off that really kind of nice cowboy sound, these are those kind of like flamenco style guitars, and I love them because they're very romantic. And I write a lot of songs with my acoustic guitar right now, but I haven't, gotten round to buying a nylon string guitar. But when I do play,
One day we should play it for everyone, for the
yeah,
listeners out there.
probably, or like when we get some stuff done musically, you guys will have a nice surprise,
Mhm.
about what we can do. So, yeah, it's really cool. So, yeah, going back to the film,
Yes, so when he
really
was
good.
a little boy, I mean, I like the confidence when he turned around and said, like, one day, he's gonna win the contest, isn't it, honey?
Yeah, and I
And
like that a
yeah,
lot.
he had the confidence.
Yeah.
And also, like, Rachel, when she was young, I mean, she couldn't speak,
Mm.
isn't it? And
Yeah.
then she started, I mean, supporting Will, from since childhood, and that connection they had since childhood till the adulthood, it was really good.
I mean, it's a really nice story, and it's really interesting because it's actually written by Will Ferrell and
Huh?
Andrew
Is it?
Steele. So he wrote it with a lot of nice ideas and a lot of heart. So there's a nice journey structure from
Oh,
start to
yes.
finish.
It's,
The storyline about him and Cigarette, the comedy aspects,
yeah.
the I love all the humor notes in the film. There's some funny stuff where he bashes like American culture, him being an American himself.
Tell
It's
them
so
about the
funny.
Starbucks thing,
I know,
honey.
he just makes fun of like how Americans. He's like, you're not welcome here, Americans. Like,
Go and
go find a
find
Starbucks.
Starbucks or
And
something,
the
some
Americans can't tell if he's being helpful
or
or
being
angry
sarcastic.
at them. So it's a funny scene. It's really good. Rachel McAdams plays Cigarette really nicely. She and Will Ferrell studied, like the mannerisms of the Icelandic people, their little kind of quirks and cultural styles and stuff. So it's really good. I love the start when they do the Volcano Man song. That bit's quite nice because it really brought me in. I thought, wow, this is gonna be a funny film. Like
it,
their little music video was really funny, and
they
then
were cute and hilarious,
yeah,
like together, like on that volcano with that
it's
song.
just so
But
fun.
that was a funny song.
Yeah,
But later in the movie, the other two songs that they did for the
the
competition,
songs are really good.
that was really nice
Yeah,
and touching. We're gonna talk more about that, yeah. But before we do that, I think we should talk about the plot, isn't it, honey?
yeah. So we'll talk about the plot. So basically, Lars and Sigrid are Fire Saga.
Cigarette.
So basically, the band's called Fire Saga, and
Fire Saga.
they're basically trying to get an entry into the Eurovision Song Contest. So I'm
Yeah.
posting spoilers on here, but basically, so just watch the film first before listening to this podcast. And what happens is that they try really hard to become the nominated band for Iceland. And what
Mm.
happens is that they actually get randomly picked out of what they call the kind of reserve pile of artists that didn't make the cut, because Iceland have already picked a singer, like a lady called Tatiana or something,
Tatiana.
Katiana. So basically, Katiana is played by Demi Lovato, and basically, she's gonna win. So they want her to win. Now the plot is that if Iceland wins the Eurovision Song Contest, they're gonna get bankrupt because they don't have the infrastructure to host the actual contest. So the guy who's involved with the Central Bank of Iceland, he's basically manipulating the story so that their country won't win. So after a really horrible, failed, and quite comedic, um, you know, performance from Fire Saga, they basically fail. So Will Ferrell's really sad, and Rachel McAdams comes to see him and is consoling him, and then the party boat that they're all supposed to be on, like for all the contestants and stuff, it blows up,
Yeah.
killing everyone.
And the funny part was like the couple were there watching from a distance, like they were supposed to be there, they're not there, they were unhappy, and when it blew up, whose hand came next to them?
Demi Lovato's
Oh
hand,
my
who plays
god, it was like, oh my god.
Katiana.
And then they realized at that moment, right, like everybody is blown up, like
Yeah,
nobody will be there to
yeah.
take the
Yeah,
the
so it's
plane.
such a funny scene because they're like laughing and crying at the same
Yeah, they were
time
like
because
happy
they're
and sad.
happy,
Yeah.
sad, and they don't know
Y-
how to deal with it. So it's so funny. So then they end up going to Edinburgh where the concert's being held. So you get to see Edinburgh. It's a really nice place. I haven't visited yet. I visited Glasgow with Pre, but I want to check out Edinburgh because Scotland's a great place.
Yeah.
So when they get there, they have trouble basically adjusting to the remix of the song and the kind of pageantry and showmanship, the bigger scale that the Eurovision brings, because Iceland now have like this team that are basically helping them to win. So they've got choreographers, they've got costume makers. Before, Lars did all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So Sigrid, she basically loves the kind of low key, kind of intimate dynamic that they have. And Sigrid's always been in love with him as well, and
And
I
they
know
never
that.
spoke about it.
Yeah, and Lars I know kind of loves her too, but he's just so focused. He's got this tunnel vision of winning. So basically he says to her, "Look, we can't be together. I can't show you my feelings because it will affect the band dynamic." So what happens is that like they basically run into people that become antagonists for their journey. So what they do is they see Alexander Lemtov. So Alexander Lemtov is a Russian singer who's one of the favorites to win the contest, and he's portrayed by Dan Stevens, who's a phenomenal British actor. So he's very good in this film as Alexander Lemtov, and his comedic timing is pretty decent and stuff. So they go to basically a kind of party that he holds because he's like filthy
So
rich.
he invited them to a party
Yeah.
in his at his house,
Mm.
and then obviously when I mean that's when the thing happened, right? When like Sigrid wanted to stay on, like she loved dancing and all, you
Yeah, there's
know.
like an awkwardness between them because like Will Ferrell doesn't kind of feel totally comfortable there
Yeah.
and feels like Alexander's basically trying to show off and put moves on Cigarette, and then he feels kind of a little bit kind of jaded and wants to leave, but Cigarette kind of wants to stay, so they kind of like get separated. And he's kind of waiting for Cigarette to return to the hotel room, but she like, oh sorry, I missed a whole bit that happens before. There's a song off that happens.
Oh yes,
So
that
that
was
bit is a really fun bit
yeah.
because you have real
They
previous
they started
contestants.
off with that sure music, isn't it? Do you
Yeah, Believe, which is a
believe?
classic.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people like, I remember back in the day when that song came out, I was like, this is a banger. This is like some Euro bang because I love my dance songs and Cher's great. So I remember like the kids making fun of me for loving this song, and I was just
But
like
she
this
has a
song was
very
great.
unique
And it was one
voice.
of the first, like trivia wise, that was one of the first songs that used auto tune.
Yeah.
So basically, autotune where you adjust the person's vocal range up and down, and then everyone started abusing it. She had that computerized kind of autotune. That was the first time that
So
basically,
that's
it's not
not
the first time that autotune has ever been used to
so
kind
but
of
that's not her
thing.
actual
No,
voice?
no, no. It's Cher's voice because she's an amazing singer. But it
Yeah.
was the first time they did that vocal kind of like auto tuning kind of thing
Right.
commercially that personally I heard,
Hmm.
and I think popularized. So what am I saying? Made it popular. So
popularity.
yeah, it made it more popular. So everyone started using it. Otherwise, it's
But she has a very unique voice. I mean, in the 90s when I heard her song for the first time,
mm,
I mean, it's one of my favorite songs. I mean,
she is an
and
amazing
still
singer.
it's one of my favorite songs. And then they started off, with that song, and they were like continuing, with the other songs. It was a kind of is it more like a competition? No, it's not like that.
It's not a
It's
competition. The
more
song
like
off is
a
kind of like
song
a
off, yeah.
um.
Sorry, the wrong word.
It's kind of like not really a competition. It's kind of like a celebration. So
Yeah,
basically, everyone does like a kind of like a what I call like a mashup of like a
all songs,
yeah of
everything.
all these different songs. So you've
Yeah.
got like ABBA, you got some other songs in there, and it was really cool. It's
You
really
guys
cool.
should watch that part. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the highlights of the film because a
And
lot
if
of
you
the
if you guys love singing, that part you'll enjoy definitely.
definitely, yeah, and I totally agree because like it's really nice. It's staged well. You've got previous contestants from the Eurovision Song Contest, so they're all there. So it's really nice. So yeah, and then what happens is that Alexander introduces Lars and Sigrid to Greek singer Mita. So Mita's the Greek entry into the Eurovision Song Contest, and then they basically both have some kind of a game where they're both trying to come on to Lars and Sigrid individually. So Alexander and Sigrid spend the night together because she gets a little hammered, and then but they don't actually do anything. So he just kind of braids her hair and kind of like tries to put moves on her and says, "Look, we gotta be together because I'm rich. I can make you a career and let's be a duo and stuff." And then Lars and Mita end up together. But when Sigrid comes back to the hotel room, she sees them together, and that creates a rift. She
Yeah.
thinks that they've slept together. So this
And Sigrid actually thought this Russian singer was a gay guy.
yeah, and like that's never really been proven whether or not he might be bi or like whatever his like orientation is. The film doesn't kind of make that apparently clear, and it doesn't need to because
Yeah.
like whatever Alexander wants to be, he can be. Like
I mean,
he's a very metro guy.
that's the reason why Sigrid was more comfortable staying with him.
Yeah, because he's very in touch with his feminine side,
Yeah.
his beautification, and he really does love himself, a lot because he's got these Greek statues of himself in his house and stuff. So he has this kind of like, almost like, like he really loves. He's very vain, so he loves himself. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of other beats in the film that are really good. Like, the tension, the arguments they have are quite fun because it starts derailing their semi-final plans. And then Lars tries to talk to her and hears her writing a really beautiful song. Now, that song will kind of play back, come back at the end of the film. But basically, she's writing this amazing song of how much she loves Lars
Mm.
and their relationship and her home,
It's a beautiful
and it's
song.
a beautiful and well written song. Really good. Like
You
uh,
get goosebumps
yeah,
listening to
it's
it.
so good. And then basically, Lars wrongly assumes that it's a love song for Alexander. Then he gets haunted by Katiana's ghost. So this is like really random. Like
Out of nowhere, boom!
yeah, so Katiana's
You're
ghost
in
comes and says you're
danger.
in danger.
You're
You're
in
gonna die and
danger.
stuff, and he ignores her. So So then Fire Saga reconcile before the semi-finals, and then they do that Double Trouble song. Now I like Double Trouble. I think it's a really fun song, and the stage setup for that is really fun with this giant hamster wheel. And then basically something really like screwed up happens with Sigrid's scarf, gets caught in the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel
Yeah.
goes flying. Lars goes flying. Sigrid gets hurt, and then
But the funny part is like even if I mean they fell off the stage, they still continued singing.
that's what's really good about them, and
Yeah.
that's what I love about this film. There's a written underneath it is a never say die, never give up attitude, and I love that about life. It's like no matter what is thrown at you, you never give up. My whole life, yeah, growing up, people have told me that I can't do what I want to do, yeah, and I've always fought against that. They said that guitar's hard. I can play guitar. They said, don't ride a motorbike. I can ride any kind of motorbike in the world, from big choppers to, 125s. I taught myself and screenwriting, filmmaking, everything, photography. My dad handed me a camera and said, listen, take some photos at this wedding. And then I learned a camera by doing it. So basically what people say to you that you can't do. This is something that I'm gonna tell you guys. Don't listen to that
Yes.
part of that yourself that tries to
They
talk you out of stuff, and also don't listen to other people trying to talk you out and not
they
doing what you
should
want to do.
they should listen to their heart.
Yeah.
They should listen to their mind. They should listen to what they believe in it. And they should keep on going. Because people will, I mean, not everyone, but the bad people will always like who wants to bring you down will definitely bring you down. But you yourself will know the feeling that you can do it.
Mm.
It's you yourself who you can help, to come out from that fear and just face it and just do it. At the end of the day, it's your achievement.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
even if you fail, yeah, and you drop to one knee, it's when you get back up. The
Yes, you
bike
get
fell
up.
on me. I felt the full weight of it when I used to take my first few lessons, and I lifted that damn thing up. And even I come off my bike sometimes nowadays, I lift it back up. I keep going. I've low-sided a couple of times. I've broken strings on my guitar. My guitar wasn't working. The electronics messed up in it, but I opened it and fixed it. You tinker, you do stuff. My films, like a lot of the stuff that I've tried to do, you have like the best intents to make this epic kind of film, but it doesn't come out the way you want it to. So you learn from failure. Failure is one of the best teachers, and what you do is you learn from that and you keep going. And that's really what a rep night does. We no matter if you knock us down on our knee, we will always rise back up.
We never give up.
Yeah, we never give up.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, so it's really cool. So going back to this,
The
I love this
movie.
film. This film is just so good. Storyline, underlying tone, production design's amazing. Cinematography was from Danny Cohen. It was directed by um, David Dobkin. Now, David Dobkin is very interesting because he directed Shanghai Nights. So,
Really?
Shanghai Nights is one of my, I wouldn't say my favorite Jackie Chan film. I'll do an entire, I think it's almost like a season of Jackie Chan films because I'm a huge Jackie Chan fan. I love Jackie Chan as a
Me
director,
too.
as a martial artist. I grew up with his
Everything.
films. I actually, wanted to like follow in his footsteps and do stunts.
Hmm.
At one point in
No.
my life when I was a kid, I used to
Really?
flip all around in high
Oh
school.
my
Everyone's
god.
like, "Oh, Ray, you're gonna be like Jackie Chan," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna smash into stuff. I love it."
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So David Dobkin directed that, and he's coming off of those kind of films and music video experience. He did videos for Tupac, Maroon 5, all these kind of bands. So he's got a like a rooted career and talent in music, which is why this film's coverage, shot layout, and also the cinematography and spectacle were very well captured. And that essence and feeling of the Eurovision and performing was incredible because you got to see it from the other side as well, the preparation, things that you don't normally see. So it's really cool. It was a really good film. It makes me actually inspires me to do a documentary about possibly somebody's entry into the Eurovision and just following them. Like maybe one of England's entries one day. I'll put a crew together and follow them and see if they can actually finally win one. So it'd be really cool. Now I can't remember if England's actually ever won. My history of Eurovision is really crap, but you know, it would be nice to follow a band as they try to kind of make it just like the film. It'd be pretty cool. So let's carry on. So where are we in the story? Um,
When they went for the competition, and the funny part is like after they went back from the stage and continued singing, they didn't hear any clap. They
yeah,
had
some
a
people were
they,
laughing, right?
yeah, and then Will went away,
Yeah.
but I think later they got the clap, isn't it?
See,
With
the thing is that Will's character Lars basically has always had that kind of chip on his shoulder because, oh, I've completely, like forgotten how good Pierce Brosnan is in this film. So Pierce Brosnan is one of my favorite actors. Sorry, Pierce, if you're listening, that I completely forgot to talk about you. You are my James Bond. Like you, Timothy Dalton, are my era of James Bond, and I would add Daniel as well. But I've always loved GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, World's Not Enough. I really wanted to work with you. I was hoping that I could grow up quicker and make a Bond film with you. But then obviously you left a role and retired. But I still want to work with you one day, Pierce. You're one of my favorite actors. You're a great,
Definitely.
legendary actor. You've got an amazing range. I saw you in Taffin. I saw you in Dante's Peak. Like there's a lot of films. I even saw that Sunset film you did with Brett Ratner, which wasn't very good, but you were good in it. So, it's a
I
great
came
film.
to know about Pierce Brosnan from Remington Steele.
Yeah, so this is
Since
very
Remington
interesting.
Steele.
So you watched all of Remington
Yeah,
Steele?
I
I
love
watched a
it.
lot of
My
reruns of
family love
Remington
it. My
Steele.
parents love it.
Mm.
Literally, my whole family loves it.
It's very interesting because Remington Steele was a really important show for Pierce because it was trying to set him up to, get very familiar with American audiences.
Yeah.
So the idea was is that Remington Steele was the name of the lady, and she wasn't getting taken seriously. So Pierce basically joins the team as a nameless guy who becomes the Remington Steele. You never really knew who he was. And they ran the series for a while and then they cancelled it, and then Pierce got Living Daylights.
Hmm.
So originally Pierce was the first choice to play Bond in Living Daylights, and I'll cover this in my
Next one.
my whole series of Bond films that I'll talk about every Bond film because I'm a huge Bond aficionado and I love the James Bond films and I hope to direct one day. Um, Pierce actually went on to Living Daylights, then they renewed his contract and they basically like messed and delayed his chance of becoming Bond earlier. So we would have got more films with him. We would have got Living Daylights with Pierce in it, License to Kill with Pierce in it. Not to say that Timothy Dalton wasn't an amazing Bond. He was so hard edged. Living Daylights is still one of my top films. I love the song by Aha. I love the movie, and we're going to have a full review about that in the upcoming episodes. So Pierce is excellent in this film. He plays like a womanizing, widowed father of laws in that very small town. They make fun of the fact that possibly most of the people in the town are his children, because he's quite a player in that.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it's just a really fun movie. It's really cool. So when they separate, Laws kind of just
Yeah.
goes back, doesn't he?
He goes back, yes, and he
Yeah.
didn't even watch the television because in on the television they were saying like they got selected because remember
Mm.
everybody was scared when they were giving the scoring and
Yeah.
they saw the scores of Iceland coming like given by all the judges,
Yeah.
and then finally they got to the finals and it was literally being announced on the TV, but he didn't even saw that. He was so engrossed like it didn't happen. They lost it and he
Yeah,
went
he put
back.
headphones on. He put his sunglasses on with
Yeah.
his crazy
With
fashion. His fashion looked really cool, and then he
the
was just going home, and he
yes.
was just zoning out. So he
And
missed
then
everything.
yes.
Alexander and Sigrid sat together, and the Icelandic council, the ones who were involved in the actual funding, were really kind of blown away. This was the first time they actually thought that Spy Saga did a great job,
Yeah.
and they felt kind of that national pride you get.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, you know what happened?" And then countries started voting for the team. So
Mm-hmm.
that was amazing.
Yeah, and they got in.
Yeah. So to their shock, they
And
got into the finals.
he didn't even know when he reached home.
That was so
He
funny.
was about to go for fishing, was it?
Basically, he decided to retire
Yeah.
and work on the fishing boat with
And
his
then
dad.
guy came and said like you're in what been selected or something.
Somebody on the boat basically told him after, and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me before?" And then it was so funny because then he makes up with his dad. His dad said that, there's one thing I want to tell you. I'm so proud of you because you never gave up.
Yeah.
And that was the Icelandic spirit he was saying. So it was a really
And
nice.
we forgot the most important part. He went to see the elves.
Yeah, but he goes to see the elves after, innit? Like now, we're
Yeah,
just touching
now,
on it.
now.
Yeah, because he's
So
like,
he,
Sigrid, I'm coming, and then he
yeah.
dives into the water to like escape.
and
That's a funny bit, man.
and the elf they
Yeah,
had this small tiny beautiful house
yeah.
and then he went there to thank them.
Yeah, I have to set that up because Sigrid always thanks them. She gives them
Yes,
biscuits and,
yes.
and tea, and she believes in them.
But he
But
did
Lars
Lars
doesn't.
didn't
He
believe,
doesn't
but
believe in the
later he
elves.
believed it
Yeah,
and he went to thank the elves,
yeah.
giving them, was it a drink or
He gave them basically like wine or
Yeah.
biscuits and just an offering basically.
Yeah.
What Sigrid does, and then he was basically picked up by the governor of the Bank of Iceland, who's responsible for everything.
Victor
Yeah.
Carlosson.
So Victor takes him there, and then he attempts to murder him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the one who basically blew the boat up.
And he even revealed there, like, he was the one who blew up.
Yeah.
We are like bankrupt, we cannot do it. And then what
Yeah.
happened next, honey?
Now you tell them what happened next, because it's an amazing bit. I love that bit.
So basically, what happened was, like, when Victor was trying to kill Lars, yeah, Victor was shot with a small knife from behind.
Stabbed, not
Stabbed.
shot. You can't get shot with a knife. You get
Sorry,
stabbed.
stabbed.
Yeah.
And then Lars turned around and checked, like, who was
He's
that?
like, what happened? And then the
then-
door closes.
And the door of the elves closed.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow,
They exist.
They exist. And what was
I
the
love that
line he
moment.
said?
He's like,
Maybe I will leave this knife for you in case you want to do some murder.
that was so funny. That's my favorite line in the entire film. Where
yes,
he's like,
that's
I'm just gonna leave this here in case you
You
want
want
to
to-
murder someone else later. So
that
good.
was hilarious, guys.
Yeah.
You should see that part. Oh
I
my
mean,
god.
it was really funny.
It's funny the way, I mean, Lars is really hilarious actor, and the way he said it,
Yeah.
that sentence was so freaking.
And then he busts like he just gets on the plane, rushes
And
there.
then they met the American people.
Yeah, and he runs into the same Americans he was making fun of,
Yeah.
and they basically rented a Mini. Was it a Mini?
I think.
Yeah.
it was-
So in the Mini, they just start speeding, and he tells them the wrong information that
Yeah.
there's no speed limit here in Europe.
You
In
can just
Edinburgh,
do
you can
it.
do whatever you want. So the kid's going crazy, driving crazy, and then he gets dropped off, and then he mocks them, but also kind of like it's quite funny because he never invites them into the show. He just kind of like leaves them after all that stuff. So he
That's-
makes it just in time
Yeah.
for the grand finale, in time to perform.
Yes.
What he does though is really, really, really kind of like heartfelt and amazing.
It's beautiful.
He doesn't tell Sigrid to perform Double Trouble,
Yeah.
the kind of like refined version, the finale version that they set up. He asks her to perform her song.
Yeah.
Yeah? So her song is called Husavik, which is basically the town name. Yeah? So she wrote it for their friends and families, and basically her life, and what it means to be part of that small like that small town in Iceland. So it's an amazing and very beautiful song, and everyone's touched by it when they
Yeah.
watch it.
Because they sang in English, and then they had this Icelandic part song
Yeah,
as
which
well.
is not allowed, but they did it wicked.
Yeah, but it was a very wicked song. It was
Yeah.
so beautiful. I mean, I can't speak Icelandic, but the song was so beautifully written. It was so beautifully sung, and you guys should watch it.
And we love and appreciate all cultures, so
Yeah.
we love to listen to music from all kinds of different countries and styles. So this was an amazing song.
Definitely. I mean, and they were worried, like, when Sigrid mentioned, like, we would be disqualified, but Lars was like, you know what, just go ahead, just
Yeah.
sing your
And I
song
thought that
out.
that was a very proud moment for him because
Yeah.
his whole life he wanted to win, but he didn't realize that he already won the heart of Sigrid, and that was more important.
And they won the heart of the whole of the Icelandic community.
Very true.
Like, literally everybody. That's the most important thing, Like, you win the heart of people, of the passion that you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really is that's the real cusp of it. It's not.
And they finally kiss at the end.
Yeah, and it's really good. And also, they kind of like, I'm not sure if they kind of reveal if Alexander is actually gay, but he can't do it in Russia. But I'm not really too sure about that part, that he was basically hiding his homosexuality because of his ostracization in his home country, which is such a shame. I don't know if they're touching on that in the film. I can't remember, to be honest, that bit. So yeah, they're all good. In the end, they all kind of like get together, and everyone has their own end to their arc. Eric reconciles with Sigrid's mother, who he could never be with, and yeah, it's really interesting. So they've lost interest in basically winning the competition, but their feelings are
But they
more
can,
important.
yes, the feelings were more important, which really portrays that thing, in this movie, which is good. And they still continue singing, in their hometown, like a
Yeah,
small band.
yeah,
And they have a beautiful baby,
yeah,
and they were singing it together, the whole
yeah.
family. That was cute. And remember the last part when they were like, "Can we sing a song from the Eurovision
And
song?"
they're
And
like, no,
everybody was
everyone
like,
plays Ya Ya Ding Dong.
"Yeah, yeah, ding dong."
Yeah, so that Ya Ya Ding Dong, I think, is like a really kind of like
folk
great,
folk
kind of
song,
like
local favorite.
local kind of favorite song, like a colloquial song, and yeah, it's just so good. I mean, they played Ya Ya Ding Dong before, and he didn't want to play after a while. Like it's something that everyone asks them to perform. Yeah, so
It's a fun song
it's a
though.
fun song. It's a nice little kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah, ding dong,
yeah,
ding dong.
it's all about like I guess drinking and
I
just
don't
having a merry
know.
time. I guess it's like a pub song. Yeah, so it's really cool, and yeah, so the film is definitely worth watching.
Yes.
I highly recommend it.
Mhm.
You've got great appearances from like ex winners from the Eurovision, beautifully well shot. Really, really, really well done. Inspired by Will Ferrell's fondness for the actual show because he was smitten from it because his wife is Swedish. So they watched the show together. Then he visited, like the Eurovisions to kind of get a feel for it, and then decided to make it. So it was a great film and a great new film from Will Ferrell and the gang. And you know, Pre, let's rate this film. Let's give it some
Yes.
shields.
Of course, let's give them chills. I
So what
might.
do you want to do?
Okay, I'm starting first.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so now I'll definitely rate them for
So 4 shields. I would
yes.
give it a 4 too. I enjoyed it a lot. It's got a lot of nice replay value. It's not boring. It's just exciting and fun. And it's an underdog story, and I love those. So yeah, 4 shields for me. A really nice, fun film.
Definitely.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of wraps this podcast up, and it's been really great. I want to thank Pri for joining me on this one. So thank you, Pri, for joining me.
Thank you.
And you can subscribe to Thor on Spotify, Anchor FM, which is where the show debuted. And you can also listen to us now on Castbox, which is another great big podcasting hub. And I'm very proud of that because Castbox, like just put us on there now. So it's really brilliant. So the show's growing. And we just would appreciate more subscribers, you guys sharing it if you like it. Get the word out that this podcast is out there. The House of Rep is a really fun podcast. It's from filmmakers for film lovers, game lovers, and more. So, yeah, stay tuned for another episode of The House of Rep.